What's going on, pro wrestling fans? Welcome back to the J Area. My name is Jose Ramos Jr., and it's Monday night, so you know what that means. Another post-show reaction to Monday Night Raw. The big story at hand, of course, has always been that of CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. They have their Hell in a Cell matchup scheduled for October 5th's Bad Blood. CM Punk opens up the show just as CM Punk would. He arrives in the parking lot, driving with his Bret Hart sweatshirt on. I know for a fact that CM Punk probably feels a type of way that the 1 week they decide to write him off and give him time off from the WWE. It happens to be the day that Bret the Hitman Hart happened to show up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. But Bret Hart wasn't here for this episode. CM Punk enters the arena to a chorus of cheers, obviously having Cult of Personality blaring throughout the arena. And he talks about his rivalry with Drew McIntyre, how this episode of Raw emanated from Portland, Oregon, and the last time that they were in Portland, Oregon was all the way back in January of the earlier this year. And CM Punk alluded to the fact that he mentioned to Drew that he had a little bit of a devil inside of him, that he haven't met that devilish CM Punk just yet. But now as we approach the Hell in a Cell matchup, it seems that this rivalry, this blood feud, has reached a boiling point. CM Punk at this point wants to get his hands on Drew McIntyre and vice versa. We've seen over the course of this year some of the most intense moments in the WWE. CM Punk talks about Drew McIntyre, and the one thing that really stood out in his promo, which was a great promo, by the way. I think CM Punk is one of the greatest promos in professional wrestling history. Certainly one of my favorite promos, but maybe I'm biased. But the one thing that did stand out from this promo was how he talked about delivering on promises. And he didn't want to deliver on other promises that he could not keep, but the one that he wanted to ensure would be kept was that he was going to make Drew McIntyre bleed. When a babyface with the credibility of a CM Punk tells you something along those lines, you're inclined to believe them. And I think with a matchup such as Hell in a Cell, you have to have some sort of blood involved. It doesn't have to be a whole gore show, but certainly the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre rivalry. We've seen blood in the Bash in Berlin matchup. We saw the bloody attack that Drew McIntyre left CM Punk in Chicago. Why would I, as a viewer, not be led to believe that it would once again happen here inside Hell in a Cell, where feuds are destined to end? CM Punk promised there will be blood, and I'm 100% sure it'll occur. Whether or not it'll just be Drew, I think more likely we'll be seeing both of these individuals bleed. It may have to, right? As I mentioned, this feud has been so intense over the course of the year. It's a matchup that should definitely main event the show of Bad Blood. And Bad Blood is shaping up to be quite the show. You have rivalries all across the board, whether it's Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, the Bloodline versus Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Solid matchups. On paper, it could potentially be one of the best PLEs that WWE will be presenting, aside from their huge events like Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam. Bad Blood is in. We're in for a great show when it comes to Bad Blood. But speaking of great shows, Monday Night Raw was no slouch in itself. One of the highlights of this card, of course, has been the Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker matchup. We will be seeing them compete for the Intercontinental Championship come next week in what should be the main event, I believe. But what I do enjoy, and we talk about promos with CM Punk, but Jey Uso also delivered a great promo. And it wasn't that typical Jey Uso promo where every other word was yeet. I love Jey Uso. I'm a huge fan. Believe it or not, back here I actually have a Funko Pop of Jey Uso's daddy, Rikishi, right? Big Kish, who has his own reservations about how they are promoting and booking his son Jay. But I digress. Jey Uso was serious when he spoke with Braun Breaker, and those kind of promos really intensify a match. You want to see this matchup. You want to see these two athletes go at it. Braun Breaker and Jey Uso both with the finisher of the spear. I'm expecting a lot of spears in this matchup. In fact, you saw the way the show closed out with Braun Breaker standing tall over a lifeless Jey Uso after delivering a devastating spear out of nowhere. Should be a great matchup. Should be a fantastic matchup. Another one, though, that really stood out was the Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman segment. A matchup that had been set up due to the altercation that Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman had a couple weeks ago in the parking lot left no stone unturned in the arena. I'm talking about a broken turnbuckle that removed the top rope from the ring. Obviously, they had the classic barricade spot. But for God's sake, Bronson Reed threw a living person at Braun Strowman. And then if that wasn't enough, they took it to the back, right? As Bronson Reed was making his way to the backstage area, Braun Strowman, in typical Braun Strowman way, was not finished with Bronson Reed. He would continue the attack heading into the back, leading to a couple table spots until eventually Bronson Reed would tackle, spear even, Braun Strowman through a door and wall, leading for it to collapse. Monday Night Raw is in shambles. Adam Pearce has to get it together with that show. You look at SmackDown, and Nick Aldis has that show on lock. Everything's under control. And even when it's not, he's able to gain control just like that. But Adam Pearce is struggling on Monday nights. Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, again, left on the ground, just incapacitated due to the battle that they had. In fact, the matchup never started. Just keeping that in mind, the bell never rang. And to see that level of destruction that the real life King Kong and Godzilla left, spectacular. I love when pro wrestling gives us that sense of chaos. Pro wrestling at its best has chaotic moments, nonsensical moments, but at the heart of it all, entertainment. And I'll tell you right now, that segment was one of the more entertaining segments that I think we've seen all year long. And that's saying a lot because the current state of the WWE has been on fire, right? Another storyline that I do want to talk about, the New Day. They've been a tag team for the better part of a decade, really. I mean, they joined forces 10 years ago. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E. Now, unfortunately, Big E has not been active for a couple of years now due to the neck injury that is, he sustained back in March of 2022. And unfortunately, it seems like he'll never be able to fully recover in terms of an in-ring return. So we're left with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. And these last couple months, we've sensed a little bit of a dissension between the two, more so on Xavier Woods' end. You see, Kofi Kingston really hasn't been taking into consideration the opinions nor the feelings of his longtime tag team partner, really his brother, Xavier Woods. You saw what they did with Odyssey Jones, which, I mean, that didn't last too long. You've seen how, for example, Kofi Kingston tonight on this episode of Monday Night Raw, Xavier Woods wanted to go it alone with his tag team partner. He didn't want the help of the Terror Twins. He politely, respectfully asked for them to not involve themselves in the tag team title matchup tonight. But what happened? The LWO made their way because they have their own issues with Dirty Dominic and the Judgment Day. All unknown to Xavier Woods. Because apparently Kofi Kingston goes behind Xavier Woods' back, asks for the LWO for a helping hand just in case the Judgment Day were to make their way into the matchup. And Xavier Woods basically had the match won, but Kofi Kingston and the LWO basically distracting the official, not allowing Xavier Woods to successfully pin and earn the tag team titles. So naturally, he's frustrated. One, you're not telling me what's going on. How are you telling other people the plan and not the individual you were tagging with in the ring? Someone that, again, considered to be his brother. I think we're on the edge here of an Xavier Woods heel turn onto Kofi Kingston. And if you ask me, I think he's justified. If I'm Xavier Woods, I would be upset. I would be frustrated. Kofi Kingston has been acting selfish. He has not been a good tag team partner, nor a good friend, for that matter. So I think Xavier Woods is in the right. For me, it's very hard to not agree with Xavier Woods in this instant. You've seen he's been wearing black a lot more often than before. We saw Kofi Kingston donning the bright green, the power of positivity and whatnot. But Xavier Woods, again, to use up a phrase, has reached his boiling point. And I think we're going to see one of two things. Either one, we're going to see the end of the New Day as we know it. Or two, maybe we reach it to the point where we get a return from Big E. Not in ring at least, but in some form or fashion that brings everyone together. Because right now Xavier Woods is going through a little bit of an insecurity when it comes to his tag team partner, Kofi Kingston. He doesn't think that he's enough. Kofi Kingston said it himself. He said that without Big E, it's just you and I. And Xavier Woods took exception to that. Now, for right or for wrong reasons, the fact is they got to figure it out. Because that's one of the best tag teams the WWE has had in a long time. Certainly future Hall of Famers. They got to figure it out. And I hope they do. But if they don't, I'm inclined to side with Xavier Woods on that one. We talk about tag team championships, but let's move on to the world title picture here, because Gunther still has not, I guess, had a challenger selected for him, even though Sami Zayn makes a compelling case. Sami Zayn is the one that defeated Gunther at WrestleMania 40 for that United States Championship. Gunther has defeated the likes of anyone, really, that's put in his place, but he wouldn't take the opportunity to accept the challenge by Sami Zayn, going so far as to send Ludwig Kaiser to do the talking for him to Adam Pearce. Now, if you ask me, this matchup, I think next week is already scheduled, Sami Zayn versus Ludwig Kaiser. I think Sami gets the victory, and somehow in that all, whether it's decided or not, one way I could see them going is Ludwig Kaiser having this sense of pride in his partner, and Gunther having a sense of, trust in Kaiser, to where if Zayn were to defeat Ludwig, he gets a title opportunity against Gunther. I could very much see that. I think Sami Zayn is in line for a world championship. The only question is, will it happen at Bad Blood? There's only one more episode of Monday Night Raw prior to the PLE. Will this be the instant that we see it confirmed for Bad Blood? I would like to think so. But hey, that's for them to decide and for us to enjoy. And one note I also wanted to talk about. With these post-show reactions, I enjoy talking about the ongoing storylines and what's the hot topics going on the show. But I want to incorporate some more of the matches, really. I talk about the story, very heavily in the story, but I want to include my favorite match of the night. And one that I don't think a lot of people were suspecting, because it wasn't really advertised. No, you see, in what was the penultimate matchup, the second to last match, if you will, Io Sky versus Bianca Belair, I thought delivered the best match. I enjoyed the main event, Dominic and Damian. But with the ending of the matchup being the Judgment Day stands tall, we've seen it. Just like on SmackDown, with the Bloodline standing tall, we've seen it. But Io and Bianca had such a high energy matchup, really bringing me back to the days of NXT. I thought it was fun, energetic, as I mentioned, and it was a nice little breakaway from the action. A lot of the storylines going on Raw have been obviously Sami and Gunther, the Judgment Day, Punk and McIntyre, the New Day, all stuff that we've seen. So we're now kind of moving towards a new storyline in terms of the tag team titles, in the women's division that is, where it looks like Io and Kyrie will be challenging Jade and Bianca at some point. But again, for what it's worth, that one-on-one match between Bianca and Io was my favorite match of the night. Again, just a fun matchup. Really brought me back to the days of NXT. But I would really like to hear what you guys thought about this episode of Monday Night Raw. What match really stood out for you? What are your levels of anticipation in regards to the Bad Blood Premium Live event? And of course, when you look at the New Day, I want to hear what you guys think. Is Xavier was justified, or is that just me acting crazy? Nonetheless, if you enjoy this post-show reaction, give the video a like, comment down below as I mentioned before, and since you're here, check out some of the videos that I've already uploaded in the past, and make sure to subscribe to continue to keep up to date with all the pro wrestling content here in the J area. With that being said, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. Thank you guys for stopping by and hanging out once again, and I'll see you guys next time.